June 8th, 2010, on my third birthday, my dad was arrested in front of me. 5 years later, February 22nd, my mom put him in rehab. My name is Olivia Robinson, and I'm the daughter of a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. Hearing those things may or may not make you feel a certain way about me or judge me or my family, but those events changed my life forever. As a child gifted with an incredible memory, I remember everything about my third birthday. Probably everything people wish that I didn't remember. The party, the police lights, the handcuffs, and my brother crying in the backseat of the car. So you can imagine how much more vivid my memory is 5 years later when my mom puts him in rehab. Not only did these events change my life, but they also changed the direction of the lives of everyone in my family. What years of living with a parent with an addiction taught me is that no matter how far gone you feel, it's never too late for a fresh start, and it's never too late to start over. This is a concept both of my parents, one a recovering addict and one not, have reiterated to me repeatedly. It is never too late to change, never too late to start over, and never too late to make a new path for yourself. I'd like to share about my family's journey with addiction. Before my dad was admitted to rehab to start his journey of recovery, he was in the hospital for a week. Every day we went to see him during visiting hours. The first time we were there, I was ecstatic. I got to see my dad, I got to hug him, and I got to play board games with him. I was happy until they told us that we had to leave. I latched onto my dad's legs, and my grandpa peeled my fingers from my dad's clothes. When I was finally pulled away and draped over my grandpa's shoulder, for the first time in my life, I saw my dad cry. March 1st, 2016, my dad was admitted into the recovery center. Sundays and Fridays became my favorite days because Fridays I got to see him at church and Sundays were visiting days. It became normal for me to kick and scream when I had to leave my dad, but this time it was slightly different. While my mom was doing her best to separate me from my dad, I was telling her how much I hated her for taking him away from me. This is the part that I don't remember. There's a thing in psychology called motivated forgetting. It's the idea that our brains can block out traumatic memories if we have the motivation to do so. While sometimes I'd like to remember this, there are times that I'm grateful to have no recollection of these actions towards my mother. Remembering that she had to listen to her third grader tell her how much she hated her makes me sick to this day. But my mom always tells me that she doesn't blame me, because she did her best to protect me from the truth. My mom told me that my dad was sick, and he was sick, just not with a sickness that an 8-year-old could understand. I didn't have the grasp on the situation like I do now, to have been able to understand that what my mom was doing was to make our family better, and she wasn't intentionally keeping my dad away from me. Fast forward to my freshman year of high school, I'm in my physical science class, and it's homecoming. We were preparing for the pep rally, and everyone was pumped up. That's when 2 boys cornered me in the classroom. They were in my face telling me that my dad was a drug addict. That's not new, I'm not oblivious. So why does that memory stick in my brain so much? Because after reminding me that my dad was a drug addict, they said that one of my childhood best friends told them how my dad was on drugs and everyone knew it. Let me tell you, I was absolutely mortified. Mortified is an understatement. This brought back the fear that people would know that my dad had been in rehab and they would judge me for something I had no control over. I was overwhelmed with guilt. I felt like the world's worst daughter because I was embarrassed of my own father. I was a mess for the next week, and my house was my least favorite place to be. I was mad at my dad for putting me in a position where these kids would be able to say something like that to me. I cannot speak from the point of an alcoholic or a drug addict, nor will I ever try to, but I do get to speak as the daughter of one. My dad put me in a position where I had to make choices. Choices to defend him, to hide my own embarrassment, and even resent my own mother for the difficult choices she had to make. This was a result of the choices that he made, which directly impacted me as his child. What I realize now is that he is my dad, and he is a person with feelings and hardships regardless of the previous choices that he's made in his life. Some people in my position will hold a grudge against their parent with an addiction, but I don't, because I understand that my dad has a disease, and that is something I want to emphasize. My dad was truly sick, just like my mom told me, a complex sickness that is hard to understand. Even to this day, I can't say that I completely understand alcoholism and addiction. But if I learned anything from what my family went through, it's that you get to decide to start over, to change, and to make a new path. My dad chose to get better for us. My mom chose to stay with him because she knew that there was a good and loving person underneath his disease. In this world, no matter what the situation may be, you get to decide who you want to be. No matter how deeply you feel that you've failed, you get to start over. We have this thing in my house called a redo, which means that you get to start fresh and move past things you may or may not have done. Maybe you're having a bad day and you're taking it out on everyone around you. This is when you would ask for a redo. It always feels good to have that option because you get to make the choice to start over, even if you've been a nightmare all day. You get to choose to make a new path. My point here is that you have options, even if you feel like you don't. It's never too late to start over. If you take anything from my story, please take this last little bit. Despite everything that you've done, you can always change your direction. Despite all the things that have happened to you, you get to make the choice to forgive people and move past it. Most importantly, you can forgive yourself. After all, I learned to forgive my 8-year-old self for hating my mother and my father for something I didn't and sometimes still don't understand. And my dad made the choice to pull himself out of the depths of alcoholism for his family and for himself. He chose to take a whole new path. That is why I encourage all of you to dig into the deepest parts of yourself and see if you're capable of making the same changes. I guarantee you'll be surprised with what you're capable of.